Hello and welcome, it's me Martin, and today I've got another video with you. It's Friday, it's noon. I can't believe the time's just flown by just so quickly. Anyway, thank you ever so much for everybody who tuned in to Wednesday's video with regards to my first vlog. If you want, please let me know if you want that to be a regular feature, or I could add a different vlog during a different day. But anyway, I'm going to crack on. And today I received some nice material to review. In fact, I received a package here, and I've got 3 books which I'm going to be reviewing. But today, the book that I'm going to be reviewing is How to Write Grammar Presentations and Practice. So this book is what I'm going to be looking at. The other 2 books I'll look at another time. A huge thanks to ELT Teacher to Writer for sending me the books. That's brilliant. I can't believe it. Really appreciate it. And let's dive in. Okay, so first book that I've got is, as I mentioned, How to Write Grammar Presentations and Practice, and this one's written by Diana Hall and Graham Burton. Opening up the book, I've not had a look at it just yet, and we have, let's see, 4 main chapters. This is what the contents page looks like, so that's great. And let's open it up. So we have about the authors. We have Diana Hall here, and an introduction about how she got into English language teaching and publishing. And then we have Graham Burton, similar thing. You've got the aims of the book on the next page, and the aims of the book, as they mention, are to provide a theoretical overview of grammar and types of grammar presentation and practice materials. To discuss the considerations you need to take into account when writing grammar materials, and to examine a variety of different grammar presentation and practice materials. Okay, so it's aimed for those teachers, I assume, that want to create their own material, whether it's in class or for other teachers to use in their own classes. And we have a sort of footer providing some information about certain terms. So presentation materials, they say the first time a structure is given or taught to a student. And then the practice materials is any work or exercises following the presentation of a structure. So very interesting to see. So they're looking at 2 aspects of grammar. One is how to teach it, how it's supplied to the students. And then the next step is post that, how to actually get students to complete work or exercises. So really interesting aims, very useful. And let's dive in. So we've got an introduction. Looking in the introduction, you've got a sort of what is grammar, and there's certain theories about grammar. I can see Noam Chomsky's generative grammar, Michael Halliday's functional grammar. So there's certain aspects of grammar which allows the reader to reassess or assume what grammar is. Obviously, I'm expecting to see maybe the Common European Framework. There's different tasks, quite a lot of reading involved. Some of the tasks are quite useful, I assume, for those that want to get involved with grammar. The next part within the first chapter, which grammar? That's interesting. Which grammar do you decide to focus on? Presentation or practice materials. And as demonstrated at the beginning of the book, there's a sort of definition about what is presentation and what is practice, so that's useful. There's the key question to consider when writing grammar material. Is it for classroom use or is it for self-study? What I do like about this book, there are different parts within the book with a footer, and within the footer you have a description of key terms. So for example, rubric. If you're not sure of rubric, it's the instructions given for an exercise. So if you've got practice materials, you need the student to read the instructions to find out exactly what's expected of them. And that explanation would be the rubric, I would assume. Okay, another question of the materials for monolingual, multilingual learning situations. What I'm starting to see is certain questions that are recommended within this book about when writing. So things, is it in class or out of class? Is it for multilingual classes or monolingual classes? So certain things and thoughts that you need to consider when writing your own material. And the purpose of the material, what is the purpose of the material? Really good. Yep. And what I've got here, the Common European Framework of Reference, the CEFR, and there's a web link in the book. Maybe if you can see that. And they explain the possible can-do statements, I assume. Oh, interesting. You've got English Grammar Profile, the CEFR for English, so englishprofile.org. It gives you some resources about English grammar, so it's really interesting. Nice screenshot of that website. GSE Teacher Toolkit by Pearson. I've not seen that before. But the GSE, you've got vocabulary, grammar, the Teacher Toolkit. That's interesting. So there's certain web-based materials that you could have a look at when it comes down to particular grammar. You can either look for authentic material, and you can look at a corpus or a corpora. So for those that aren't aware, a corpora is a sort of selection, a combination, an accumulation of language and vocabulary which is put into a database, and you can search for particular words or phrases and it will give you examples of that particular phrase used in a certain context. So that's interesting. That's good. There's a lot of tasks within the book itself. How many pages are there? Okay, so it's less than 100 pages and we're already a third of the way through. Writing grammar presentation materials. Okay, so this is chapter 3. Wow. Yeah, we had the introduction about grammar. Which grammar was chapter 2, and writing grammar presentation materials, types of input. So looking at the types of input or the type of materials to use to present grammar, and they say that using authentic texts are preferred, as they felt to have more inherent interest value than a text written specifically to teach a grammar point. So news websites are an obvious potential source of authentic text, but depending on the project, it might be desirable to have a wider range of text than simply news stories or magazine-style feature articles. Interesting. Okay. Another kind of input text is a monologue or a dialogue. Yeah, so some questions about the use of particular text within a coursebook and how it relates to a particular grammar. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'm starting to enjoy this. Obviously, I'm skimming through this book. So there's a variety of things that are recommended for the reader when it comes down to trying to explain or, explore the grammar. And there's certain aspects which could be incorporated by the reader. So you've got tables, and if I just show you on page 45, we have this table here, certain grammar forms. We have true or false statements, ticking statements, discussion questions. Beware of copying. So another aspect when it comes down to writing your own material is not to copy material or, to copy from other sources, because then there's the issue of copyright. So it's nice to see that this book has some reference or nod towards copywriting. Integrating pronunciation, that's interesting. That's good. That usually isn't covered within grammar itself. So what does it say about pronunciation? It says a final consideration is whether we integrate pronunciation in our grammar explanations. So what I do like about this is that when it gives you how to integrate pronunciation within grammar exercises, it tells you, okay, so you've got conditional sentences. What sort of pronunciation would you focus on with conditional sentences or future forms, present simple, etc., etc. And then there's sort of commentary on this task a bit later on in the book, so you can have a look at what's recommended with regards to that particular task. Okay, and then good grammar presentations, and you've got a checklist. So certain things that you need to adhere to when it comes down to writing good grammar presentations. That's really interesting. I can see that being of use. So those that are trying to write grammar exercise or grammar presentations rather than exercises yet, but when a teacher is trying to write how grammar is broken down or presented, then there's certain points that you need to consider. When it comes down to grammar practice materials, and now this is where students or teachers are given worksheets or exercises for students to complete. So how controlled is the practice? So a couple of things to consider there. And some nice reflection questions at the beginning of this chapter. So can you think of any occasions when you have found an exercise problematic? So these are grammar practice exercises. What exactly was the problem? Was it instructions, the exercise that was covered, the answer key, the context of the exercise? And then again, you can read the commentary later on within that task. And what's nice is that each task is numbered. And I guess, commentaries, you've got task 1, task 2, etc., etc. So that's really useful. And if we go and have a look at task 12 about, problematic grammar practice exercises, and here we have practice 12 and a variety of ideas there. Then you've got tips for writing rubrics, so how to write instructions for students. So keep it short and concise to the level of the learners, 2 or 3 short, clear sentences, rather than one long sentence with 3 clauses. So some nice advice there. Yeah, this is very, well, it's common sense, I guess. And if you've not done this before, if you've not written grammar exercises or grammar presentation activities, then it can be a bit overwhelming, and it's nice to have this guide just to go through the different processes. And then again, similar to the grammar presentation, you've got a checklist here for how to write practice, good grammar practice. And then we've got a final conclusion about this book. So nice, short, concise conclusion, further references, further reading, sort of bibliography there. And as I've mentioned before, commentaries on task and some things to consider. So that's nice. Anything else? There's a glossary. Okay, so for all the information that was provided in the footers, you've got a glossary of that information. So open and closed. Yeah, I can see open and closed there. So that's nice. So not only can you you're not trying to have a look for the right page for that particular word that you were searching for. You can go straight into the glossary and find it there, and it will have all the information available. You've got appendix, types of presentation exercises, so sort of aspects to consider there, common types of practice exercises, so some nice pro forma templates or activities to incorporate when you're writing your own material there, whether it's presentation or practice. And that's it. And that's the end of the book. So really useful, some nice theoretical work included in the introduction, some nice considerations when it comes down to writing presentation or practice exercises, and also some nice templates to incorporate when you want to try and produce your own material. So overall, this book, very useful for those that are starting out when it comes down to writing activities or presentations for grammar. So yeah, thank you. Right, well, that's it. Thank you ever so much for, watching this rather long review. I enjoyed that one. That one was really good. And again, thank you to ELT Teacher to Writer there we are. Not sure. I do believe they have a website, eltteachertowriter.co.uk. I'll put a link down in the description below. And a huge thanks to the team that sent me this, and I received such a nice letter. So yeah, thanks to Karen Sue, the ELT Teacher to Writer team. So thank you ever so much for sending these through. I'm going to be reviewing the other books in a future video, and I'll see you next time. Have a lovely weekend, have a great day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye-bye.